But this time, Rafal is going to be guiding this deck as its pilot here in this matchup. Let's see if Rafal can work against that fire type Typhlosion with a couple of grass Pokemon in their deck when Raging Bolts. I'm excited to see if Raging Bolts can come out on top just from its sheer power, Kyle. I will be super proud of that deck, and it has the potential to do that.
Yeah, if you thought Buddy Poffin was enough buddies, there's another buddy with the Ethan's Typhlosion with the Buddy Blast attack.
Buddy Blast.
Pretty fun mechanic. We'll get into it as the match goes on, but yeah, I think this is one of the cards out of this latest Destined Rivals expansion that people were kind of keeping an eye on. Like, this has some potential. Maybe the numbers don't quite line up. It's a little awkward. Sometimes you can't get all of your Ethan's Adventure into the discard pile, but so far, Christian D'Onofrio is making it work. And there's an Ethan's Adventure in the prize cards to kick things off.
Yeah,
you need access to all 4 of those to really unlock your
also,
biggest attack.
Like, look at all those Pokemon, too. I mean, it's one of the Victini in there. We got the Cyndaquil, the Typhlosion, and that Pheasantipity right at the bottom there. The Latios EX and that Noctowl and one of the Fan Rotom at the top of the prize cards on Rafal's side as well.
Yeah, Latios could be a big deal.
Right.
We do want to call out Christian does play the redeemable ticket. Those cards are not necessarily stuck in the prize cards. Lets you put those cards on the bottom of your deck, and then you put out new prize cards to replace them. So
yeah, and you don't know what you put back in there. So hopefully you've gotten everything you want out of your deck before you resupply those prize cards and trade them out. Such a cool card. You only see it in some funny decks here and there, but Ethan's Typhlosion, while it may be unique, it is definitely very powerful. As you see, both of these players are sitting at undefeated records here going into our Swiss round 5 as we're kicking things off. 50 minutes on the clock in their best of 3 match here. And look at that. Rafal is starting with that teal mask. Ogerpon already in the active position. Going to use this Earthen Vessel nice and early to get some energy out of the deck here, but doesn't really know what he's going to be facing off against until Christian starts playing his turn out.
And discards the Pheasantipity EX right off the bat. An important card in these kinds of matchups where you're kind of trading knockouts back and forth. Of course, you can get that back later with a Night Stretcher. But yeah, I have to think there's probably some pretty good cards in hand if you're throwing away a Pheasantipity right away.
Yeah.
But yeah, for Rafal, pretty simple game plan for this Raging Bolt deck. You want to get your basic Pokemon set up on the first turn. You go for the Fan. Rotom, use the Fan Call, get some Hoot, maybe find that Ditto that lets you kind of swap out for whatever Pokemon you want. Get an energy attachment and set yourself up to launch an attack on the second turn. So this looks like a pretty strong opening for Rafal. You look at the openers here, you probably don't know what your opponent is playing at this stage of the tournament. There hasn't been that many rounds. Right. But your opponent flips over a Pidgey, which is honestly pretty unusual at this point in the metagame. So you have to be a little bit curious. Obviously, it's some kind of stage 2 deck, but you're like, what am I going up against? I don't know yet.
Yeah, exactly. It is pretty uncommon, which is wild because, Quick Search is such an incredible ability on the Pidgeot EX. That we're going to see how that plays into Christian's strategy here. But Buddy Poffin is going to kick us off. That's going to get us some Pokemon out here, and Rafal is going to have a nice idea what Christian is working with. That is going to reveal a couple of the Pokemon that are in the prize cards as well for Christian. Just looking at some basics. Of course, these have to be 70 HP or less for Christian to put down onto the field right now. But we're going to see a lot of fire-type Pokemon being drawn out here. And that baby Raging Bolt is in the active position for Rafal. There already has an energy attachment. This is an awesome Pokemon into matchups where you can take knockouts on these single prize Pokemon and almost just like farm your opponent's board with that Thunderburst Storm while still maintaining energy on the board throughout the match as well. So that's pretty awesome for Rafal. But Christian does play a shaman with that flower curtain that we've been talking about. This is a Destined Rivals edition here, and it has pretty much made it into almost every deck in our fields. It has very high percentages out there at NAIC.
Ooh, look at that. The call for family with the Pidgey, too? Is that what we're seeing here?
That is beautiful. I actually love this.
All right, so lots of basic Pokemon coming down. I think probably not an ideal turn for Christian. You'd love to use Technical Machine Evolution on the first turn, get some Ethan's Quilava out there, or Pidgeotto to set yourself up for the Pidgeot EX. But no supporter card on the first turn, so really weak start. We'll see what he does next turn, and he's probably just crossing his fingers hoping that Rafal doesn't attack this turn, but I mean, what are the odds of that?
Yeah, I mean, that is one thing with these evolution type of decks, especially the single prizers, having to get into stage 1, stage 2s. It takes a little bit of time, and you can potentially run into some inconsistency issues. But if you ever catch yourself at one step behind, it can hurt quite a bit, especially thinking that Christian also has to get those Ethan's Adventures into the discard pile as well to help the strategy of even taking some knockouts with our future Typhlosion. Crispin, on the other hand, for a fall, is going to start getting these energy out. One attaches to the board. That's going to charge up this Raging Bolt here, and the other goes straight to your hand, so you can attach it for your energy for turn. If it's grass, you can Teal Dance with it and draw into some more. Of course, Jewel Seeker, that's the key card here for Rafal as well to get this trainer cards out. If you have a Terra Pokemon in that Teal Mask Ogerpon, we're taking knocks here, and that's good enough. Raging Bolt taking a knockout on this Pidgey. That's a single prize card as Christian promotes this Shaman. Let's see if he can get some evolutions out and get some things going here. I do see a rare candy in the hands. And look at that, Quilava.
There we go. You can use that ability to search for an Ethan's Adventure card, bonded by the Journey. Yeah, you can search for an Ethan's Adventure card, put it into your hand. Then Ethan's Adventure, of course, lets you search for up to 3 in a combination of Ethan's Pokemon and basic Fire Energy. So it can get you more Quilava. Those can all use their abilities. They can search for more Ethan's Adventure, search them out of the deck so you can get them into the discard pile. And then eventually you get the Typhlosion up and running, and you kind of go from there. So there is an initial setup to this deck, but once you get rolling, once you get all the Ethan's Adventure into the discard pile, really it's just you get a Typhlosion out, you get an energy, you just do an attack.
Yeah, you see all the synergy there in these partner Pokemon. You know, if it has whatever title is in front of it, just identify all the cards that fall into that category, because this is how they work together. We now have multiple Quilava out. There's 3 Quilava searching out all of these Ethan's Adventure cards. Of course, we did have one in the prize cards, so that's still accounted for. But as we talked about, the redeemable ticket is in the deck somewhere here. But Ethan's Adventure, they're going to start hitting the discard pile. And the sooner you get to do that, the more damage you're going to be doing once you get out your Ethan's Typhlosion. That's going to do a 40 base and then 60 additional damage for each of the Ethan's Adventure that hits that discard pile. So it's synergetic. It's working together here for Christian. He just needs to be able to maintain this board and keep swinging into this Raging Bolt. What are the ways that Rafal can work around Christian's strategy now that we're seeing that kind of form together here, Kyle?
I mean, you could try to use single prize attackers as much as possible, but eventually it's just going to turn into a race. When you're playing Raging Bolt, you just got to try to take as many knockouts as you can early on and get out to a big enough lead where hopefully you can just close it out before your opponent gets up and running and starts basically trading 2 for 1 with you, right? Your Raging Bolt EX can get knocked out for 1 energy by the Buddy Blast. But if you're ahead enough prize cards, you can win before they get there. And if Christian has to put Pidgeot EX into play at some point, that is going to be a 2 prize target to go after. So that's another way. But, oh, look at this, a Judge. This is the second time today we're seeing Raging Bolt drop a Judge on somebody. And that may disrupt Christian's plans. He did have Rare Candy and Pidgeot in hand, decided not to play it because didn't want to put that 2 prize liability out there just yet. So probably pretty annoying to see if you're Christian.
Yeah, that definitely is, as all those cards are going back into the deck. It's unlike the Iono where everything shuffles, so it doesn't just go straight to the bottom. Could draw into some of those essentials once again for Christian. But yeah, each player just gets 4 cards here off of that judge. We're going to see the Earthen Vessel discarding that grass energy to search out some more energy from the deck. This is the deck that we're looking at right now for Rafal. It's already slimmed quite a bit here for Rafal, and that's what you see from these Raging Bolt decks. They go through quickly their resources because their game plan is pretty short term.
Yeah, but Rafal's doing the right thing here, leading off with that regular Raging Bolt. Just gives up 1 prize card, forces your opponent into a little bit of an awkward situation where if they take the 1 prize card, it's probably not helping them that much to progress towards winning the game. Makes them need something like a boss's orders or a counter catcher to go after one of your Pokemon EX. So just kind of an annoying Pokemon for your opponent to deal with at the beginning of the game.
Yeah, it is nice. We see a lot of the Thunderburst Storm, but not too often do we see the Dragon Headbutt. But anytime you can convert into a single prizer into single prizers, it's going to net you some positive outcomes here. As you see, Rafal is now working through his prize cards. He's only got 4 left to take here as Christian starts to develop this board. Defiance Band coming down onto the Typhlosion as Rafal is picking it up to give it a read here as well. I mean, this has been a deck that has been on the scene, but wasn't heavily talked about going into NAIC.
Yep. And let's not forget, this is an international championship. We have players from all over the world. Christian from Italy, and that card may not be in English. So if you don't know what it does and you pick it up and it's like an Italian, you're like, this doesn't help. But yeah, you can request, like a translation in that sort of situation from the judges. Or you can probably just ask your opponent and they'll be like, yeah, more damage for each Ethan's Adventure in the discard pile.
Yeah, I guess, yeah, that's very true. And as you can see here, the Defiance Band is boosting up. Now Christian being behind in prize cards here. We also have the Victini. It hasn't been out yet, but that also boosts some damage for you as well. So you can see how Christian is playing these cards that help out with the damage output just a little bit to kind of push those numbers in certain matchups here. So yeah, Christian, you see the game plan and why it's succeeding so far, as it can lack some consistency here and there. But the secret box, I mean, talk about a fantastic ace spec, but probably one of the perfect inclusions for this deck that's trying to get those Ethan's Adventure straight into the discard pile. If you're not playing them, just throw them away with the secret box. And then, of course, the Buddy Buddy Poffin, easy discard there as well. So that Christian is able to thin all of these cards out of the deck now. Thanks to those discards, you get a supporter, the stadium, an item, a tool card, and that counter catcher is also huge here for Christian, thanks to being a little bit behind here in that prize race.
Yeah, going to be able to take a 2-prize knockout if he wants to. You can, at this stage, there's 3 Ethan's Adventure in the discard pile. You got the Defiance Band as well, so doing quite a bit of damage. It's a good question over, do you want to go after just the Ogre Pawn, knock it out, takes the Terra Pokemon out of play for your opponent so they can't Jewel Seeker, especially after a Judge. That could be pretty disruptive. Your opponent played Judge, so they could just be stuck in a situation where they don't have a Terra Pokemon in play anymore.
Yeah, it's like, well, what do I do now?
Yeah.
Oh, and look at that. Wait, drawn off of the top for the prize cards?
Oh.
You don't see that very often.
Wow, okay. So yeah, Ethan's Adventure now unlocked. The maximum damage is possible.
Wow.
And I think one thing that Christian has to be feeling good about is usually these Raging Bolt decks play like 1 or maybe 2 like hand disruption cards. You've seen the Judge already. There's a chance you'll see 1 Iono as well, but for the most part your hand should be safe for a little bit. So may not need to prioritize getting Pidgeot into play. Also, now that last Ethan's Adventure is in the deck, you can use the Quilava to search for it, and at any point you can just go grab more Ethan's Typhlosion and set up your next attacker. So this is the phase of this deck where it is almost like autopilot.
Right.
You're just like, all right, now all the stuff's in the discard pile. All I need is Ethan's Typhlosion. with the fire energy, and I'm just using Buddy Blast all the time.
Yeah, I mean, that's the exact point you're trying to get to. And once you get over that hurdle, you set up all these Quilava, the Typhlosion that's already been attacking there for Christian. You're good to go here. Now it's on Rafal to kind of respond to this, try their best here, but we're going to see the knockout on that first Typhlosion going down. 3 energy with that bellowing thunder from the Raging Bolt EX. That's another point too. It's going to take quite a bit of energy for Rafal to have to discard to take out those Typhlosion. And then you have to get those energy back on your board as well. And that could be a bit awkward there for Rafal.
I think you can see Rafal maybe a bit confused about how to approach the matchup as well. He just had to pick up the card and read it.
Yeah.
Very likely has never played against a deck like this. And it's like, I don't know, I guess I use Raging Bolt EX and knock out your Typhlosion. I don't know what happens after this, but right. I guess I should try to take prize cards. But yeah, this may have been a situation where you just send up the regular Raging Bolt again. Now that the Shaman's gone, you could pick off something on the bench, force your opponent to go through a single prize Pokemon. That may come up again in the following turns. But yeah, there's got to be a bit of confusion in trying to figure out the matchup from Rafal's end. But for Christian, it's probably like, yeah, this is the 3rd Raging Bolt I played against today.
Yeah. Like, oh, I know how to deal with this. I mean, Christian is absolutely, like you said, Kyle, kind of on autopilot here. Christian is totally encompassing. Oh my gosh, I can't say that word. He is Ethan now in this deck. He is the Ethan in the Ethan's Typhlosion here.
He's been bonded by the journey.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Bonded by the journey. Main character energy here for Christian as he continues with these Typhlosions.
Yeah, I think the Cyndaquil just came down this turn. Yeah, that one cannot evolve into Ethan's Quilava.
Quick fix there. Have to go 1 round with your basic down before they can jump into that evolution. But we still have 1 other Quilava on the bench as this Typhlosion continues its reign of fire here, as you see from the mountains, taking out that Raging Bolt EX. 280 damage done to that Pokemon. Taking it down, that's 2 more prize cards here that Rafal essentially just put up in front of Christian to take there. Now we do have the baby Raging Bolt up into the active position here. Professor Sada's Vitality is going to help a little bit with some recovery to get some energy back onto the field here, but it only targets down the ancient Pokemon for Rafal. So we're getting another energy.
There's now 5 energy on this Raging Bolt. If he attaches a 6th one, the Thunderburst Storm does do 180 and can knock out the Ethan's Typhlosion. I don't know that I've ever seen 6 energy on the Raging Bolt before, but hey, whatever works. Not having to put a Pokemon EX into play will make it so that Christian cannot win on the next turn. So hey, could be a clever move here by Rafal.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, that's going to get us somewhere here. That's a knockout on the Ethan Typhlosion going down here straight into the other Quilava that's popping off the bench into the active position here. Yeah, the Raging Bolt, the Thunderburst Storm is doing a ton here. It's like almost all grass energy attached to it. But of course, that lightning and the fighting required for the Thunderburst Storm. But for every single energy, you're boosting up your attack, and that's enough to get us somewhere. Christian, on the other hand, into this Arven here to get a item card and a tool card. We've already seen 1 Super Rod in a previous turn here from Christian. Going into the second one now, because this is another thing, is you kind of run out of resources after a while. You have to get these Pokemon, get the energy back if it's required. I mean, luckily, Typhlosion only requires 1 for Buddy Blast, so there's a pretty nice conversion there for you, but you still have to maintain what's in your deck to be able to carry out these end turns for Christian.
Yeah, this is still a bit of a dangerous situation. Christian's able to get 1 more Ethan's Typhlosion out this turn, but just has the Ethan's Quilava on the bench. And so if Rafal were able to do something like, get Blood Moon, Ursaluna, and then play an Iono, put Christian down to 1 card, there's not an attacker on board, and there's no Pidgeot EX in play. You don't want to put that in play at this point. That could give your opponent a target to get 2 prize cards,
Yeah.
potentially. Seems pretty unlikely. There's not any energy on the board, but, you know, weird stuff with, like, Prime Catcher. You can get a bunch of energy. Could go after your Pidgeot EX, so you definitely don't want to put any liability into play. Yeah, he is kind of vulnerable to the Iono to 1. Now, if it doesn't happen, seems pretty straightforward. We'll see a couple of Ethan's Typhlosion attacks to close out the game, but it is still kind of a scary feeling. You don't know how this game is going to end.
Yeah, you're hanging on the edge of your seat, and I mean, it makes for a more entertaining stream game. I could say that much. But Christian here is going to get another Cyndaquil out, thanks to that Artisan being the active stadium in play here now. This Typhlosion, once again, taking a knockout. That's a ton of energy down to the discard pile here for a fall, as the Fan Rotom is promoted into active position.
Yeah, and there we see the Blood Moon Ursaluna in Rafal's hand. Will there be an Iono to go with it? And this could be devastating for Christian. Would be down to 1 card with no Ethan's Typhlosion in play. Would need to find a way to get an Ethan's Typhlosion and a Fire Energy. All the Ethan's Adventure are gone at this point, so you can't just search up one of those anymore. So yeah, a bit of a tricky spot still.
Yeah, they're in the discard pile where they have to be for the Buddy Blast to take more damage, do more damage. But yeah, this could be so awkward here for Christian. It's really going to come down to this, as Rafal is going through this Jewel Seeker here, thanks to the evolution of that Noctowl.
Yeah,
and this scary, scary Kyle. Here we go. Area 0 Underdepths paired with that Iono here. Only a single prize remaining.
Felt like Christian was in such control, but now it might be slipping away. Also,
absolutely.
He just drew the Pheasantipity EX out of the prize cards, but that's going to go to the bottom of the deck as well.
So that could have helped, but it's going to be at the bottom now. And you're just kind of relying on whatever card you get off of this Iono and a top deck as well to try to secure this win. And that is just a very tight rope to be walking on, Puka. And it's scary for sure. Ultra Ball going to be played by Rafal here. Getting all the cards thinned out of this hand, out of the deck. So we go into the deck once again. I mean, there's not much deck left there, but we do have a Slitherwing to clear out.
Yeah, but just thin out as many cards as you can so that, you know, you're going to put your hand to the bottom as well and only be stuck with 2 cards. You want to be able to draw a way to switch out Blood Moon Ursaluna on the next turn, your Prime Catcher, something like that. So, yeah, you want to get rid of all this junk and just have your deck full of strong cards if you can. And here we go.
You're not trying to top deck a Slitherwing at this moment?
I am not, no.
Well, the Iono, this is the true test here in this match. It's all coming down to this end game disruption here from Rafal. Both players shuffling their hands. It goes to the bottom. The Blood Moon Ursaluna in the active position. No energy needed thanks to that seasoned skill ability, taking the knockout there. And both of our players are down to 1. Top decks the Arven here. Pidgeot EX was the card off of the Iono.
Ooh, okay. So at the very least, you can get rare candy, but I don't know if you can get the 2 things you need. Let's see. Going to be quick search. There's no energy in play right now, is there?
Well, we have the Pheasantipity that went to the bottom, but now it can come back?
It's going to be flip the script to draw Ethan's Typhlosion plus a Fire Energy.
Oh my gosh. If we see that, Puka, crowd's going to go wild. I'm going to go wild, that is for sure.
Yeah, I think that's got to be what you're going for, right?
I mean, how else would you do it? Yeah,
there's nothing else here I can think of. The Arven, it gets you the rare candy for Pidgeot EX. Christian now has 0 cards in hand. Yeah, flip the script has got to be it. Because, if you grab the Ethan's Typhlosion, you don't have the Fire Energy to attack. You need 2 cards here. You can only get 1. So your best shot is to draw 3 cards and cross your fingers.
Well, that's what we're doing now. The Pheasantipity is in play. We have that flip the script. It's going to be 3 cards here for Christian. Can we see what he needs to win this?
Here it is.
Oh my gosh, I didn't see it.
Fire Energy.
Oh my gosh, we got it. The Typhlosion, the last card there. The single attachment there for some buddy blast here from Christian. And he takes the game by the skin of his teeth. He is Ethan, and he's on a fantastic adventure here, Buka.
When you have a strong bond with your Pokemon, that's just what happens, yeah.
I mean, that was so epic here. Christian taking our game one as our players shuffle up, getting ready for this game two. I think he can't even believe this too, shaking his head. I mean, think about everything that went right there for him. Who draws off the top of their prize cards? And it just happened to be that last Ethan's adventure that we needed. Not that we couldn't get it out in another way, but I mean, everything was just harnessed energy over there to Christian, and that was awesome to see. It's so close. Let's take a look back at this game, back how our players navigated this intriguing and unique matchup here.
Oof, yeah, started off typical Raging Bolt, gets the first knockout. The Shaman did block some of the bench damage, but then was eventually just nominated as tribute to be knocked out next by the Raging Bolt. And then the comeback began. Ethan's Typhlosion was set up, got all the Ethan's adventure into the discard pile, and it became a nail biter at the end. It seemed like Christian was in control as we progressed through this match, but well, got down to one prize card. And yeah, we saw the 6 energy on the Raging Bolt. I wonder if we'll see that in game 2.
Yeah, I'm very curious about that too. As you see,
then it came down to this. Flip the script, needs 2 cards and gets them both. Hey, that's how you win games.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, my heart would have been pumping there if I was Christian. That is just a moment like none other that you can find in the Pokemon TCG. These players are setting up for our game 2 as we jump back into the action between Raging Bolt, EX, and Ethan's Typhlosion. Now, this is where things get even more interesting, though, because Rafal has now had 1 game against this deck. We're going into game 2. We're going to see if he's able to adapt his strategy a little bit as we go into this game. Looking at the prize cards here for Christian. A couple of energy there, as well as some Pokemon, and one of those counter catcher as that Pidgeot EX. But the prize cards are available thanks to some redeemable ticket action in this deck. And this time around, you're going to see kind of the same strategy of getting these Pokemon out onto the field. I mean, that Pidgeot EX, the Pidgey was there for a long time. And then it turned into the Pidgeot EX.
Supporting the team, yeah.
Right at the correct moment, yeah, when we needed it the most there. But honestly, the call for family was pretty cool in the last game from Christian as well off that Pidgey.
Yeah, interesting choice from Rafal. Chose to go second in this matchup, forced the Ethan's Typhlosion deck to go first. Was probably hoping that Christian didn't have a Buddy Buddy Poffin, wasn't able to get a bunch of basics down in the first turn, but and you hate to see it, right? Well, you let your opponent go first, and then they play a Buddy Buddy Poffin, and they get all their basics out. So we'll see if it's going to work out going second here. When you do go second, you really put a lot of pressure on your deck. You need to attack with Raging Bolt. If you go second, you probably need to attack on your first turn. Thankfully, it's not that hard. There's a lot of ways to power up attackers, and looks like, yeah, the Pidgey is vulnerable with no Shaman in play. Right. So that Raging Bolt could come in right away and just go after the Pidgey.
Yeah, that Thunderburst Storm. I mean, the Professor Sada's Vitality is the key. Going second, powering up your Pokemon because you get that energy attachment. Could have been 2 energy if you could really get there. But plus the energy attachment for turn there to get into some attacks nice and early here. We also see the combination of the Fan Rotom, the Rotom Fan Call coming out here, and a Nest Ball on top of that to get all of these Pokemon out here for Rafal. So going second has definitely paid off here for Rafal this time around.
Yeah, definitely need to get the Teal Mask Ogerpon EX, get your Terra Pokemon into play to set up those Hoot Hoot to evolve into Noctowl on the next turn. To use Jewel Seeker. So yeah, this is a perfect start when you're going second.
Yeah.
Gonna get an extra energy in play with the Teal Dance and power up the Raging Bolt and get a knockout with that single prize Pokemon.
I love it. Yeah,
excellent first turn.
The retreat from the Mew EX with that free retreat. Beautiful here. Not the worst start in Pokemon, that is for sure. And Raging Bolt jumping into the active position. We're going to see that knockout there, and it's back over to Christian. Now Pidgeyless. We just have these Cyndaquil out on the field. We do see that TM evolution here now that's able to be utilized this turn, and then it's gone, but it brings out some of those Quilava to the field, which is what we need to see. That's what really starts our engine going here if you're on Christian's side of the field, because he needs to get these Quilava, start to seek out these Ethan's Adventure cards. But as we said, we also need to protect against this Raging Bolt. Otherwise, it could just, knock out whatever you want on your field. So Shaman's going to join the party as well off the Ultra Ball, throwing one of those Typhlosion into the discard pile. That is another resource down here, but we're going to get a fresh 7 cards off of Professor's research here for Christian.
Yeah, crucially, no high five, even though no discarded cards.
They're too focused here.
Yeah, the stakes are too high. But yeah, this is going to be another game where Raging Bolt gets ahead a couple prize cards. The Technical Machine Evolution will help Christian stabilize a bit here, get those 2 Ethan's Quilava into play potentially, and then try to get those Ethan's Adventure into the discard pile and start mounting a comeback. But if you're Rafal, this is what you got to do. Put on the pressure, hope your opponent doesn't set up, they stumble a little bit, and then you get out to a big enough lead where you can just take advantage. This is shaping up to be another close one.
It is, which I'm a fan of, honestly. On paper, you might think, oh, well, you're dealing with weakness. You have a lot of positives going Christian's way, but there's also a lot of negatives to playing a deck like this, too. Could get real clunky, real fast, and Rafal definitely has the cards to be able to disrupt Christian. You just got to do it at the perfect times here. But Jewel Seeker is a fantastic ability to be able to be used here, thanks to that Ogre Pawn in play.
Yeah, I wonder actually what Rafal is going to go for. Looks like a Prime Catcher and a Judge. Going after the Pidgey.
I honestly like it. It's aggressive here. The Prime Catcher play, that's the A spec in the entire deck. You can only play one. Pidgey's coming back up. It's only 50 mere HP here, and it is no shocker that this fan Rotom is able to take out this knockout, converting into that single prize for single prize attack that Rafal seems to go to. But he's throwing that Judge in there as well for some disruption here from Christian's side. Maybe Rafal's able to slow Christian down enough to take the pace in this game his way. A little heavier this time, and then Christian's not able to have that last turn where he just squeezes out a win right at the end there. Rafal's definitely feeling like he's in a little bit of a better position here this game.
Yeah, I think one benefit from Christian's end is it puts very little pressure on what he needs to do this turn to get a knockout. Now you just need to play an Ethan's Adventure. It gets you the Typhlosion, a Fire Energy, and it gets the Ethan's Adventure in the discard pile, so you can get an attack for a knockout this turn. This kind of pace, I think, works out for Christian because he can just kind of put one Ethan's Adventure into the discard pile at a time and get to the damage to get knockouts here.
Yeah.
Right, you'll do 100 to knock out the fan Rotom this turn. Now, taking single prize knockouts doesn't feel great against Raging Bolt. Eventually, you need to take the 2 prize knockouts to close out the game. But this helped a little bit off the Judge, being able to have the freedom to do kind of a slower turn.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, we're still accomplishing all the same things. We have the time. We're just single prize card Pokemon. The Ethan's Adventure actually be able to be played this time, and whereas before in the game 1 we saw them discarded off the secret box, but now we get the Fire Energy, we get the Ethan's Pokemon out, and that's the pieces we need to continue the pressure here for Christian's side. So Christian is doing that perfectly here. The Typhlosion's out, we have that Fire Energy in place, and that Ethan's Adventure joining the discard pile.
Yeah, Christian asking, how many cards do you have? Trying to figure out, what kind of plays could you be capable next turn? I think maybe debating putting down the Pheasantipity EX, using Flip the Script to draw into more cards. Probably thinks I do need to do this at some point. I need to find ways to draw stuff like Counter Catcher or Boss's Orders, cards like that, in order to go after those Pokemon EX on the bench at some point. So it's going to be an interesting decision on if he decides to do it, or maybe he'll hold off till, Rafal is down to 1 prize card. Then you put down the Pheasantipity and draw. Looks like for now, single prize Pokemon only. Don't give your opponent an opportunity to take 2 prize knockout.
And we're back into the top prize cards here. Pidgeot EX being drawn there for Christian off of those prizes. Mew EX as the free pivot being brought into the active position for Rafal. As we go into the deck off this Earthen Vessel, tossing away that Latias EX this time around. We saw it in the prize cards before. This time it's going to the discard pile here for Rafal as we get those energy out of the deck onto the field.
Yeah, he's definitely not lacking for energy. He's got a lot in play, but does not have a Raging Volt EX in play at the moment. And let's see what the plan is this turn. You're not going to see the 6 energy on the regular Raging Bolt again.
That'd take a while.
Yeah. The Shaman is protecting the bench at this moment. So if you wanted to go after a weaker Pokemon on the bench, you would need a Boss's Orders. It looks like maybe eyeing up the Teal Mask Ogerpon using the Myriad Leaf Shower. That's got a lot of energy on it too, and that is going to add up for a knockout. 5 energy between them, the 30 base damage. You wouldn't think that you're going in against the Ethan's Typhlosion with a grass type that's easily scorched for weakness, but hey, that's the attacker that's going to work here.
Yeah, exactly. And if it's out, it's already sort of a liability on your field anyway. So if you need to continue the pace of taking these prize cards, and that is your option that you have, that's what we're going with here. Teal Mask Ogerpon, we're giving it up in the active position to Christian here for Rafal. But at least netting that prize card there, taking a knockout on that Typhlosion, and really putting the pressure onto Christian to say, okay, do you have the resources to continue this pace up here and put the pressure back to me?
Yeah, once again, though, Christian doesn't need much. He just needs to play in Ethan's Adventure, and he can get the Typhlosion. He gets enough damage to knock out the Teal Mask Ogerpon, get 2 more prize cards. It's, again, a really slow pace. Rafal has not asked Christian to have more ways to discard these Ethan's Adventures. And, we do see the Pheasantipity EX come down here. It looks like the redeemable ticket was found.
Ooh.
Don't know if you need to play that. The counter catcher is in the prize cards, so that is a consideration.
Yeah, that's true. We are lacking. We're behind in prize cards here. That unlocks that card.
Yeah, plus, you would be probably the first player to play a redeemable ticket on stream.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
That'd be worth something.
Add that to your roster, I guess. Oh my gosh. Yeah, wasn't it like the first ace spec that was played was like Awakening Drum or something like that? It was something crazy.
Like a Master Ball or something.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we see this ace spec, speaking of which, in the secret box coming out for Christian, is going to toss away these Ethan's Adventure cards now here, similar to what we saw before, but they've already netted him quite a bit of resources, just consistently getting the Pokemon and the energy out for him. And now we're getting even more cards here. The Gravity Mountain being one of the inclusions into this deck, as well as the Super Rod. Recycle those resources, Boss's Orders into the play here. And we get one more within a tool card if it's there.
Yeah, the scary part now, though, is Christian does have the Pheasantipity EX in play. The prize race does not benefit him at the moment. If Rafal is able to Boss's Orders up the Pheasantipity at some point, you got to think that's going to be a game-winning play. Right. But Christian decided, yes, I know this is going to be a liability at some point, but I need to start drawing cards, and sometimes that's a risk you got to take.
Got to prioritize your strength, what you're working with, before your opponents sometimes. So we'll have to see how that pans out here, as Rafal has definitely been a lot faster, I feel like, in this strategy in this time around in our game 2 against Christian. And sometimes that speed is all you need to match.
Classic move. You're thinking about something else, you start shuffling your discard pile. We've all been there.
I have definitely done that plenty of times here. And then I'm like, wait, what am I doing?
Yep. But one thing I want to call out, there are only 3 Ethan's Typhlosion in the deck. So one thing that Christian is thinking about is, I need to draw Super Rod. I can't just sit here and not find ways to shuffle the Ethan's Typhlosion back into my deck. So that may have been what finally made him put down the Pheasantipity, flip the script. I need to get Super Rod so I can keep this chain of attackers going. Otherwise, I'm just not going to have a Typhlosion.
Yeah, you're not buddy blasting there, as we see one of those Typhlosion also in the prize cards there for Christian as well. So definitely has to maintain the board here, get those Typhlosion out, buddy blast into the win potentially here for Christian. But Rafal, 3 prize cards left to take for Rafal. He just needs to continue up this strategy for him, as it's pretty nice. Honestly, this Mew EX has been pretty effective for him to just promote it up, kind of establish what you need to do, and then bounce out of there and continue the pressure with these attacks from his Pokemon. Crispin's going to help out a little bit here as well to get some energy on the field. Now we actually do have a Raging Bolt EX this time around for Christian, or for Rafal.
Yeah, I think this is going to present a challenging situation for Christian as well. If Rafal has the Blood Moon Ursaluna to put into play, it's almost like a checkmate situation. It's like if you, there's no boss's orders played this turn, so that didn't happen. But there is a situation where it's like your opponent knocks out an EX, and then all you need is the Blood Moon Ursaluna and the boss's orders to knock out the Pheasantipity to win. There's no way for Rafal to really set up like a game on board situation here. So just going to try to do everything he can to thin out his deck, set himself up in case his opponent plays like an Iono to disrupt his hand, give himself the best odds to close out the game on the next turn. The Mew EX will also be really important to restart, drop to 3 cards. So yeah, it's a much tougher situation for Christian this game compared to the first one. We'll see if there's anything he can do to, make some magic happen.
Yeah, I want to see the magic happen, that's for sure. The heavy Night Stretcher build as well, pulling out one of those Ogre Pawn here. We get another Teal Dance for the turn from Rafal as we see these energy that have been put into play being discarded. He's just choosing where he's discarding it from his board, and it seems to be one from each of these Pokemon. One off the Teal Mask Ogre Pawn, one off that Baby Raging Bolt, and the Raging Bolt EX in the active position. So you still have your attackers there. They just need another energy to be on them, and being able to target them down with Professor Sada's Vitality to get those energy back out is pretty nice too. And that brings Rafal down to 2 prize cards here in this game. Pheasantipity, a liability for Christian on the field, and Typhlosion, another one has been taken out from Christian's side. So Christian, of course, promoting that Quilava back into the front here. And honestly, the strategy remains. Puka, the strategy remains.
All right, let's see what Christian goes for here. You have to think hand disruption is a crucial part of this turn. If you let your opponent keep their hand, you probably expect they're going to have the means to knock out your Pheasantipity. So yeah, this becomes really tricky. You need to get a Typhlosion out this turn. You need to get a knockout. You also need to disrupt your opponent's hand. But I mean, if you just knock out the active, they're going to be able to restart with the Mew EX. There's the Hoot on the bench that can just go in Jewel Seeker. So yeah, this is a tricky one to try to figure out a way to get a knockout while also not kind of walking into your opponent's plans.